My name is Maureen Ngozi Chukwurah. I belong to the Busy Speakers Toastmasters Club in Ghana. I joined Toastmasters in April of 2019. I always mix that date up. April of 2019, and that's when I joined Toastmasters, yes. I would say that so many things. Firstly, if you've ever heard me give any speech in regards to my journey as a Toastmaster, you would have heard me say or talk about Emmanuel Mumuni. So Emmanuel Mumuni and I used to be ambassadors for Internations, and Internations really is a platform that brings experts from all walks of life. And seeing that I'm Nigerian and I was in Ghana at the time, I wanted to be able to meet other people from different parts of the world who were coming in to work in Ghana as a community. And so I sorted out Internations, and I found them and soon became an ambassador. And what that really truly means is that I would organize events with other ambassadors, which Emmanuel Mumuni himself was an ambassador as well on that platform. And we would organize events to bring experts from all walks of life together in one space where we would share drinks, talk. It was just like a Friday evening kind of unwinding and just, letting your head down and all of that. So that was how I met Emmanuel, and Emmanuel soon left Internations and moved to Toastmasters. Not that it was a move, but really he left Internations at the time and I was still an ambassador. And one of those days he reached out to me and said, "Hey Maureen, I think you would find Toastmasters a good place. I know that it will be good for you really." And he sent me this obviously long epistle via text message to say, "Hey, this is what it's about." And I looked at it for a while. I think he probably sent it to me in like January or somewhere early in the year. And I would look at it for a while and, it was stewing. But basically, by April of 2019, I had come back from an international conference and I was put on the spot to speak in regards to young people and the impact that they're having on the continent of Africa, and seeing that I am Black and I was representing my famous continent, I was so excited to be sitting down on that platform. But the thing that caught me in my space was the fact that even though I was given this platform to speak, I wanted so much to get my voice heard. But there was this thing that was just happening in my throat. It felt like I was crying talking, but I eventually delivered my speech. And after doing that, and having read about Toastmasters, I knew that I needed help. I knew that if I wanted to be able to dive more deeply into the social space that I was currently finding myself in, I wanted to be able to represent and pass my message with clarity and, get all of that buy-in that I require, especially when you're talking about social issues. You want to be able to have people listen to you with so much clarity in your voice and, thought process and all of that. And that's why I thought about Toastmasters and I decided to come. I think I visited Busy Speakers Toastmasters Club maybe once. And by the second week, I was sold out and I knew that I needed to be here. And I eventually went ahead and made payment to become a Toastmaster. Yeah. Significant improvement in my communication skill would be when I would not, my first two speeches, thinking about it right now, I would think that I was basically making an effort to write a speech to come and deliver. But by the time I got to my third, fourth speech, I knew that it was not just about delivery at club meetings. It was how these speeches were effective outside of a club meeting or a Toastmaster setup. And like I said in my initial response, I had just recently launched myself fully, like leg deep, hand deep, head deep, everything deep into the social space. And I really needed to be giving speeches that did not only apply to Toastmasters, but how they applied outside of Toastmasters. And I became really intentional about my speeches at the time. I was deliberate because I was on the innovative planning pathway. I needed to create projects, speeches that could be a reflection of my own real life, of my daily ins and outs. And that's really what helped me. So drawing myself back to the question of how I noticed the improvement in my communication skills, it was the fact that when I delivered speeches at a Toastmasters meeting, I would look for creative ways to replicate those same speeches. And sometimes you will be changing lines or changing phrases or just changing a particular section in that speech to deliver it outside of Toastmasters. At the time, I had a regular 9-to-5 job in a real estate company in Ghana that obviously brought me to Ghana. And I would hear speeches or give speeches and go and repeat them in team meetings. We used to have these Monday meetings where everyone from all the departments, so we had sales, we had admin, we had marketing, all come together in one space at least once a week on a Monday morning. And I was the office manager at the time. So I would deliver my speech. No matter how long or short it was, the meeting was really a short one. So I would give my speeches in bits, but making sure that the main message or the main focus of that particular meeting was to empower the general staff. So that was how I noticed that I was not just delivering speeches at Toastmasters, but my communication style, which I could testify from other people, because I became more confident in the ways that I spoke. I became more confident in my presentation style. I became more confident even in the ways that I would articulate things and present them to make a case for other staff. So it really helped me. How did Toastmasters change my perspective of leadership? I would say that it really helped me to understand that leadership does not necessarily mean leading 1,000 or leading 10,000. Sometimes it's just one person, and how you're able to do that can really tell on how you're able to manage a larger bunch or a larger group of people. It also made me realize that it is in the little things. You know, when we say it is in the little things, you don't really understand what that means. You've actually had a lived experience, and Toastmasters really gave me that room to be able to understand what that phrase in itself, it is in the little things that matters. And having that opportunity, the very early stage, to be the club vice president membership, I knew that it was important. In fact, fun fact, when I first got into that role as vice president membership, there was something we used to do in the company where I worked with, and it was like a 2-minute pitch that we would write and do on a paper, and you will have like very good structure where you would say, okay, you meet the client at this point, you talk to him at this, you do your closing, you do your pricing, and then you bring in your manager to have that conversation. And when I got into that role of vice president membership, I really thought about how I could bring that same structure into being president membership, because I knew that with convincing people, just like my job, you had to be able to get them to that level of interest. And so I would have this pitch. I literally wrote it down. I don't have the paper right now. I would have loved to show you, but I literally wrote it down as to when I meet someone or when someone indicates interest on wanting to join a Toastmasters club, this is what I would do. So I had a sales pitch. I had that process lineup of you meet the clients, you say this, you say that, you go to the closing. And I was not oblivious of the fact that not everyone will come in on the first day or on the first go. So I knew that there was room for follow, which was something we all obviously did in the office. So I had that sales pitch and I think it was helpful for me. My Toastmasters journey in 3 words. Okay, first, growth. Second, collaboration. Third, challenging. And I'll try to explain that in a quick bit. So when I say growth, obviously my word for the year 2023, I always have the word for the year. And this year, my word for the year is growth. I see my Toastmasters journey as one of growth because when I first started, like I explained, I would have this almost choking, crying feeling in my throat to be able to voice my words. But right now, this progress, I see how I have moved from that person who had words, wanted to share, but would still be stuck because of anxiety on wanting to deliver. And I would deliver speeches and go back and beat myself up for not remembering all the salient points that I thought would have, taken it off the hook and taken it to the final destination that would have been drop mic. But basically, I see how I have grown in myself. And I haven't just done this on my own because I truly recognize the collaborative effort from people in my space, my club members who pushed me, my mentor who pushed me, which is Eno, who pushed me at the time, and to all other persons within the Toastmasters forum, to Dr. Susie. Dr. Susie literally would tell me, what are you waiting for? You should get your DTM by now, and of course, Age and all the other many people within the space, ASJA. I remember when I first jumped in and on that prompt to represent my club at the speech evaluation and how literally I had an army of people. I had people who would be on a call with me for hours to prep me for that particular role. And eventually it paid off because I went all the way and represented the division at the time, which was 1 division at the district level. So it was really helpful. I had an army. I had Jennifer. I had Debbie. I had Janet. I had ASJA. I had Moses. I had people who would call me and say, hey, how are you preparing for this thing? Let me hear you evaluate his speech. Look at this resource. Evaluate this speech. Let us hear you. And it was really good. So that's the collaborative part. And then going to number 3 is the fact that not everything that we go through is sweet and rosy. In fact, the challenges are the spice that makes it all worthwhile, really, in the sense that if there are no challenges, then there's no cross at the end. But basically, what I'm saying is that the challenges are good. They help you to redefine your own self, to redefine your own values, and to redefine who you are as a person. How are you able to cope with the regular stress of life? Because really those are what challenges are. And that's how I would say those are my 3 words: growth, collaboration, and challenges. That's really a tough one because I've had quite a number of speeches. I would not be able to tell you that there's one in particular that blew my mind and made all the difference. But of course, there were quite a number of speeches that made all the difference. And I always like to remember my first speech that I evaluated. And the reason is because you always remember that one first speech that you evaluated. You always remember the one where you had to intently listen to be able to grasp the knowledge or the information that the speaker is giving to you. And that speech was on plastics and waste and everything climate change by Sehiram. And I remember just listening to that speech and thinking, oh wow, like our speeches are not just crafted to come and deliver and tick boxes and go. Our speeches are delivered because we are speaking about real life issues that affect you and I. And how we go about that is from the conversations that we're having in these spaces. Yes, Toastmasters meeting does not have 3,000 audience. It doesn't have the 5,000 that we're looking for. Sometimes it's just 10, 12, 20, 25, or maybe at most 35 people in a room, and you are delivering that speech. Or if it's a conference, you might have larger audience. But it is the conversation, those little tiny conversations that we're able to have and how they are able to make that brilliant change that we require. So I would say I've had so many brilliant speeches. I've had speeches from Dr. Susie, who talks about Kudi investments and financial awareness. And so to me, there's been quite a number of speeches that have really blown my mind and made all the difference. I think everybody, to be honest, from the person who was assigned, because I don't have a lot of mentors, but from the person who was assigned to me as the mentor in the Toastmasters community, especially in my club, which is Eno, to every other person who has evaluated any speech that I've given, or, I've reached out to them on Zoom to say, hey, evaluate my speech for me. I want to hear your evaluation. I think those things have really built me. I am one of those people who would give speeches, and I'm looking for somebody on the call that I know will not be biased to giving me evaluation on my speech. And of course, you are one of those people. So I would ask, please evaluate my speech. Tell me what it is that I didn't do well, or what it is that shine through, so that next time I know what to emphasize on and what to work on. And I think that's the beauty about Toastmasters, that you get evaluation, real-time evaluation on things, and you're able to say to yourself, okay, now I know where I'm lacking or lagging, and I know where to put in more effort, and I know what to, emphasize on, so that next time I am better off. And I think that's the beauty about this journey as a Toastmaster. So many people have obviously influenced my growth as Toastmasters, and I'm grateful to all of them. I'm being very careful not to mention names here so that I don't miss anybody and then regret why I even started the list. But quite a number of people have helped me, and I'm grateful to them. And especially the person who invited me to join Toastmasters, which is Emmanuel Momini, and several other people in the community. I'm super grateful to all those who even allow me to have a say in their speeches or to ask my opinion. They all make it all better, and I'm so grateful. Toastmasters has done amazing. So every now and again, I will be put on a spot to talk about something or ask a question or wanting to share my idea about something. And it just it's like a bell that keeps going off in my head. Yeah, Toastmaster, you have to be articulate. Yeah, Toastmaster, you have to be articulate. I know that's a lot of pressure, but for me, I like that pressure because then I know that the value for my membership due is not wasting. Like the Nigerians will say, I beg, we know if you waste this money. But basically what I'm saying is it's helped me to be more present. I think that's the word that I'll use, more present, more into the space that I am in. So I'm not trying to be passive. I'm not trying to be a walk away through or, just be there to be there for the moment. I want to have my voice heard. I want to be seen, and seen not just because I'm a busybody or, going around in spaces. In fact, I would prefer not to be seen, but because I know that my voice has power and it's what the world requires from me, I'm always looking for opportunities to show up, to represent, to do the things that I know that gives me joy and pleasure and, gives the other person value in some way. I would tell you first, cliche, but Toastmasters is really where leaders are made. And being in this space can help you tremendously. The connection, the social networking that you can get, especially when you're applying yourself very intentionally, it can help you. It can push you to heights that you never thought. It's valuable. You get value for your money here if you're being intentional about your growth. Self-paced, but valuable. And just in case anyone is looking at this right now and thinking, should I join? Should I not join? Please. Why are you sitting on the fence? Just come on board. Take the leap. You will be better off at the end of it all. Yeah, that was my 1 minute sermon. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to you. I am happy that you're reaching this milestone. Congratulations to you, Peter, aka DTM. DTM Peter, thank you so much.